Coming up, a Wyandotte, Oklahoma man dies in a motorcycle crash near Seneca, Missouri.
We're looking quiet to start this morning, yeah, but be ready for another hot day. We'll break down the numbers coming up.
Also, Pittsburgh celebrates the 4th of July with events such as a car show, a bocce tournament, and a fishing derby.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Jalen Banks.
And I'm Nick Kelly, and Jalen, I'm already looking at the numbers from Joplin Regional. Doesn't feel that good this morning. And that's the thing, we haven't seen the sun rise yet, and just tells you that we are set for quite a hot day. At least we're looking dry from 7th and Rangeline. But this is the main screening weather headline. Heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas to take you through at least Wednesday at 8 o'clock. But excessive heat warnings for our corners of Kansas and Missouri, taking us until midnight as we go into Friday. Yeah, that kind of heat and humidity ready to rear its ugly head our way once again today. While there's nothing really going on the Skywatch storm tracker, I'm actually highlighting this because a weak little disturbance upstairs actually has prompted a few thunderstorms just to the south of Wichita and just to the west of I-35 in northern parts of Oklahoma. And you can see it in the upper levels here, that tiny little low on the Kansas-Oklahoma line. That's what's trying to fire up a few of those little showers or storms. It might clip a very small part of our Kansas counties early this morning, but most of us is going to be dry but hot and humid. We're in the mid to upper 70s already. Still feels like the upper 70s to lower 80s outside, and the numbers will just go up from there, Jalen, pushing 95 by noon today. And you can see highs today, the thermometer will say 100, but the heat indices will make it feel like the mid triple digits. And I don't think this is the hottest we'll go this week. We'll break down the 7-day to see how high the mercury will go here in just a bit.
Triple digits early on in the week.
Well, it's July in the 4 states. We got to see those numbers at some point.
Fair enough. All right, that is not pleasant, but let's try our best to stay cool.
And however we can.
All right, thank you, Nick. We know the identity of the man who drowned at the Dripping Springs area of Grand Lake this weekend. Officials with Emporia State University in Kansas say the man, Brexton Green, was a student there. The university says Green, originally from Cashin, Oklahoma, was a sophomore and a wide receiver on the football team. Authorities say Green was cliff jumping into the water, but did not resurface. A Wyandotte, Oklahoma man dies after a crash yesterday morning while on his motorcycle in Newton County, Missouri. Authorities say 61-year-old Bruce Dodge was driving north on Missouri State Highway 43 north of Seneca when he crashed into the back of a pickup. Dodge was pronounced dead at the scene. The other driver was not hurt. The Caney, Kansas Police Department warns residents to be on alert after a string of vehicle break-ins. Officials say if your vehicle is parked outside, you should make sure it's locked and remove any valuables from it. They're also asking people with security cameras to review footage from last night and contact them if they see anything suspicious. A Southwest Missouri legislator resigns her seat after being convicted of fraudulent taking of COVID-19 relief funds. On Friday, Republican State Representative Tricia Durgis of Nixa sent her resignation letter to House Speaker Bob Vescovo. Durgis was an assistant physician at several clinics. She was convicted last month of 22 counts, including wire fraud, illegal distribution of controlled substances, and making false statements to investigators. Federal prosecutors argued she claimed nearly $900,000 in federal funding for COVID-19 treatments that weren't performed or had already been performed. The state of Oklahoma plans to execute an inmate on death row nearly every month until 2025. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals set execution dates for 6 prisoners with plans to execute 25 in the next 29 months. The court is responding to a request by Oklahoma Attorney General John O'Connor. Capital punishment in Oklahoma had been on hold due to the moratorium promoted by botched lethal injections. Oklahoma currently has a backlog of 44 people on death row. Under the new push, the first scheduled execution is set for August 25th. Another local Independence Day tradition, the Pittsburgh Parks and Rec Department's annual 4th of July festival. The festival features events like a car show, a bocce tournament, and a fishing derby at Lincoln Park. On Monday, officials restocked the pond at Lincoln Park with catfish. Kids and adults were put in separate divisions to see who could catch the most.
So I hope the families can come out and enjoy themselves in this nice weather today and enjoy just celebrating the 4th of July together.
The winner of the adult division received some Pittsburgh Chamber bucks, and the kids division winner got a fishing pole. The many activities at Pittsburgh Lincoln Park also included a Cutest baby contest. Participants were in boy and girl categories and 6 to 12 months or 12 to 24 months. The contest is a long-standing tradition for the Pittsburgh Independence Day celebration.
Well, as a child, my mom took me to all of them, mainly with my grandpa. And so it was just kind of a little tradition that I was so excited to continue on once I had her. So we're just excited to do it and to spend the 4th of July with family and friends and at the day at the park.
And of course, the best part, every single baby was no doubt cute. The unincorporated community of Chicopee, Kansas, just outside of Pittsburgh, celebrated two parts of its history: a schoolhouse that was established in 1869 and ran for 100 years, and the Chicopee Rural Water District, established in 1951. On Monday, the community honored both parts of history by dedicating a memorial in the old schoolyard.
It's just to remind us of our rich heritage. You know, we're really fortunate in Southeast Kansas. We have a really rich heritage here. You know, it's really colorful, rich heritage, and people can't be reminded of that too often.
The memorial is made of brick and cut stone and features a flagpole.
All right, coming up on 5:07, let's have our first look at the 7-day, even though the numbers, a good number you may not like. We will be trending near 100 degrees today, maybe a stray storm in our far southeastern Kansas counties early this morning. Otherwise, we're dry for today. 101 tomorrow, 102 Tuesday, 103 Friday. And believe it or not, Jalen, we got a front in here by Saturday and Sunday. It may drop lows back into the lower 70s, but it's still going to keep highs in the upper 90s by then.
All right, that again, just going to try to stay cool because those triple digits is not looking pleasant.
No, they don't mess around.
Yeah, not at all. All right, thank you, Nick. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up, this KOAM Morning News. Two sisters meet for the first time in their lives, and thanks to 23andMe. Plus, the 4th of July is time to celebrate America's independence. However, some are using it to protest a recently overturned court case. And the states with higher monkeypox cases receive vaccinations for it. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
The holidays have become extra special for one Minnesota family. In fact, the woman took a DNA ancestry test at Christmas and found out she has a sister. She got a chance to meet her long-lost relative for the first time over the holiday weekend. Ryan Clayton reports.
Is that them?
I can't tell.
An airport pickup has high stakes when you've never met.
I hope they didn't get lost.
Don't say that.
Higher still when it's your sister.
So weird, and it doesn't even feel real.
Eileen Misfelt lives in Eden Prairie. She took a 23andMe DNA ancestry test over Christmas. The results, a sister, Suji Dufresne from New York. Neither knew the other existed until a few months ago. Sunday, the much anticipated meeting.
You were so much shorter in person. I just felt like so just overwhelmed with happiness and just all good.
Suji is 27, 3 years older than Eileen. Both were adopted from South Korea just months old. In a way, unknowingly living parallel lives.
Seeing her in person, she looks even more like me than in the pictures, so I didn't even think that was possible.
I had this kind of like back and forth of the feelings of, is this real? But it also felt like very meant to be.
This is so weird.
A reunion 24 years in the making that could have easily never happened.
It's wild, and I'm a swiper. I could have easily deleted that because I'm one to go through my emails and clean it up really quick. So it's just unbelievable.
Relief for what once was a struggle.
Well, I considered that I was an alien at points in my teenage years because I just didn't think anybody could be related to me.
I think now I have a sister, another sister, and I don't know, it's like a new sister, new friend. It's exciting.
And Suji's son has a new aunt.
All I've ever known genetics-wise is my son. When he was born, that was like my big moment of I have somebody that is related to me and that I know is related to me. So it just feels like an expansion.
A connection always there, now made real.
I can't wait. We have a whole list of what we're going to do. We have a bucket list of wasted time that we got to fill.
That's a great story to come out of the holiday weekend we just wrapped up. All right, still to come, a famous landmark is in desperate need of repairs. But first, I've got another hot and humid day lined up. We'll break that down in the forecast coming up. The forecast this morning, starting off with the big picture upstairs at the jet stream level. Easy to see what's dominating our weather setup again as we go throughout the course of the day. Even though it's all about the upper level ridge, there has been a weak little upper level wave trying to skirt across the Kansas-Oklahoma border west of the region. That has actually allowed for some scattered thunderstorms to develop from the Wichita metro down to almost Ponca City, mainly west of 35. Some of these guys might try to clip our very, very, very far northwestern counties over the next few hours. Everybody else, though, we're looking dry right now, and a lot of us, unfortunately, will plan on staying dry throughout the rest of the day. Then that switches over to the main weather issue we'll have for today and continuing all the way until Friday. Heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma to take us at least until 8 o'clock this evening. Same goes for Benton County, Arkansas. Then all of these excessive heat warnings for our corners of Kansas and Missouri taking us until midnight Friday. That's because, again, we're going to continue with a hot and humid stretch as we go through much of the week. 77 in Joplin, even though it's still dark, relatively speaking, we're starting to see the sun's rays brighten things up from the eastern horizon. We're in the mid to upper 70s right now, but some spots it already feels like we're in the lower 80s just because of the humidity that we're still feeling, even though we haven't hit sunrise yet. But once we do get past sunrise, plan on the mercury rising quickly once again. 78 by 8 a.m. We'll go 95 by noon and then pushing highs near 100 degrees this afternoon. That's around the Joplin area, but everybody is fair game to go into the lower to mid 90s as we go into the start of the afternoon, pushing 100 today and keeping skies quiet. That should allow us to drop back at least to 77 tomorrow morning and then right back around 101, unfortunately. And those are just the air temperatures, though. It's going to feel like it's 102 to 108 this afternoon. And we're going to repeat those numbers again once we get past the warm start on your Wednesday, pushing 105 to 110 as we go into Wednesday. Then 102 Thursday, 103 Friday. Those alert days because we'll still have heat indices pushing between 105 and 110. Then a cold front by the weekend could drop us back into the upper 90s, and we'll see if we can squeeze a few thunderstorms out by the time it rolls on in. Switching gears now, some people in Oklahoma spent July 4th marching for their freedom. A reproductive rights rally started at the state capitol on Monday afternoon. Peyton May spoke with the organizers.
The land of the free, home of the brave, the anthem that served as a foundation for our country now being questioned.
Frankly, it felt like America didn't deserve a birthday this year.
We did not want to celebrate a holiday of independence and freedom when we aren't free.
In the last year of civil unrest and divisive politics, Aiden Lozano and Jalen Dorsey decided to make a stand.
It happened as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned. Aiden messaged me on Instagram and she said, hey, I think we've got to do something.
And I was like, what if we did a 4th of July protest?
A simple social media message transformed into this.
We decided on the Mariposa Project because it's butterfly in Spanish, and we want to change Oklahoma, make it beautiful.
An organization aimed at bringing the community together.
Strategize, organize, mobilize, and amplify.
With McGirt, with reproductive rights, with gay marriage has only been legal for 7 years, so there's no telling where that's going to go. They have so many things they can take away from us, and we need to be prepared to fight for that.
The two activists are giving an entirely new meaning to Independence Day.
On a day where we're celebrating independence, there are so many groups that don't have independence, and they are losing their ability to choose the rights that they have or that they should have, that we were promised that we honor on a day like today.
So that brings us to our something to talk about. What did you do for the 4th of July this go around? We got a bevy of options on our Insta poll. Just head over to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, or you can also vote with the KOAM News Now app for iOS and Android. And we have this on our Facebook page as well. You can chime in with what you did to celebrate the founding of our country back long ago. Jalen will be back with Health Watch on the other side.
This morning, as cases of the monkeypox virus steadily rise in the United States, health officials are pushing for more access to testing and vaccines. Now, the Biden administration will offer more of those materials to the states with higher case rates. Mary Maloney has more on this story.
More doses of the monkeypox vaccine are being sent to states that are dealing with an influx of the virus. In order to beef up their response, and under pressure from the states, the Biden administration is releasing the extra doses of the vaccine from the Strategic National Stockpile, along with more tests. The current distribution plan has been criticized because of its limited scope, with vaccines only available to those with known exposure. Under the new plan, vaccines and tests will be allocated to states based on case rate, focusing on men who have sex with men and their known partners, along with anyone who thinks they might have been recently exposed through an anonymous partner. The U.S. has confirmed more than 350 cases so far. While experts expect the virus is more widespread than the current case count suggests, they are not calling it crisis yet.
I think it would be risky to classify it as low, medium, or high. Given the numbers, I would not say right now at this particular point that it is a, quote, high risk. But the numbers may increase, which means we've just got to be careful and pay attention.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And another look at our forecast. We're actually starting up with a look at the radar here, because even though there's a little cluster of storms between Wichita and Ponca City west of Interstate 35, a lot of us are going to be dry throughout the course of the day. But a couple of those little guys might try to clip our far northwestern counties on the Kansas side. Otherwise, everyone's set for a hot and humid day, pushing 95 by noon and highs today of around 100 degrees. But that doesn't take into account the humidity. It's going to feel like 100 already by the noon hour today, and we'll push those heat indices between 103 and 108 across much of the area. And we'll stick with the heat and humidity with lower triple digits for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and maybe a little relief by Saturday and Sunday. More news coming up.
Coming up, a Wyandotte, Oklahoma man dies in a motorcycle crash near Seneca, Missouri.
Plus, we are looking at a quiet start to the day, but triple digits in the forecast today. Numbers coming up.
Also, Pittsburgh celebrates the 4th of July with events such as a car show, bocce tournament, and a fishing derby.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:27. I'm Jalen Banks.
And I'm meteorologist Nick Kelly, keeping an eye on a few things this morning, but a lot of us, Jalen, are seeing what we're seeing from 7th and Rangeline, a quiet start to the day, and even though we're still about a half hour, just a little over away from officially being sunrise, we're starting to see the eastern horizon brighten up with the sun's rays once again. This is our main weather factor, though, in terms of how we're going to progress through the day. Heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, but the excessive heat warnings, a lot of these holding firm until we hit midnight going into Friday. There on the radar network is a cluster of storms west of 35 between Wichita and Ponca City. Nothing else really in our area right now, but we're seeing those storms out west because of a weak wave upstairs that is going to try and slide near our corner of southeast Kansas a little bit later on this morning. Otherwise, that's a very slim chance for maybe a shower storm, those lucky enough to see it. But everyone's hot and humid today. 95 degrees at noon, pushing 100 this afternoon, Jalen, with the southwest wind at 10 to 20. And I even mentioned the humidity yet, where those numbers are running so high today, it could feel like 103 to 108 degrees this afternoon. And I'm still afraid that's not the hottest we'll go this week. We'll break that down for everybody with another look at the full extended forecast here in a bit.
So we should be bracing ourselves for even hotter temperatures.
Yeah, like maybe flirting with records we haven't seen since the summer of 2012, and I don't know if you were down here for that summer, but I've lost count of how many days we've hit 100 degrees, if not gone above that. But we'll break down the numbers for everybody just so they can properly plan here.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Nick. A Wyandotte, Oklahoma man dies after a crash yesterday morning while on his motorcycle in Newton County, Missouri. Authorities say 61-year-old Bruce Dodge was driving north on Missouri State Highway 43 of Seneca when he crashed into the back of a pickup. Dodge was pronounced dead at the scene. The other driver was not hurt. We know the identity of the man who drowned at the Dripping Springs area of Grand Lake this weekend. Officials with Emporia State University in Kansas say the man, Brexton Green, was a student there. The university says Green, originally from Cashin, Oklahoma, was a sophomore and a wide receiver on the football team. Authorities say Green was cliff jumping into the water, but did not resurface. The Caney, Kansas Police Department warns residents to be on alert after a string of vehicle break-ins. Officials say if your vehicle is parked outside, you should make sure it's locked and remove any valuables from it. They're also asking people with security cameras to review the footage from last night and contact them in the event that they see anything suspicious. A Southwest Missouri legislator resigns her seat after being convicted of fraudulently taking COVID-19 relief funds. On Friday, Republican State Representative Tricia Durgis of Nixa sent her resignation letter to House Speaker Rob Vescovo. Durgis was an assistant physician at several clinics. She was convicted last month of 22 counts, including wire fraud, illegal distribution of controlled substances, and making false statements to investigators. Federal prosecutors argued she claimed nearly $900,000 in federal funding for COVID-19 treatments that weren't performed or had already been performed. The state of Oklahoma plans to execute an inmate on death row nearly every month until 2025. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals set execution dates for 6 prisoners with plans to execute 25 in the next 25 months. The court is responding to a request by Oklahoma Attorney General John O'Connor. Capital punishment in Oklahoma had been on hold due to a moratorium prompted by notch-lethal injections. Oklahoma currently has a backlog of 44 on death row. Under the new push, the first scheduled execution is set for August 25th. Another local Independence Day tradition, the Pittsburgh Parks and Rec Department's annual 4th of July festival. The festival features events like a car show, a bocce tournament, and a fishing derby at Lincoln Park. On Monday, officials restocked the pond at Lincoln Park with catfish. Kids and adults were put in separate divisions to see who could catch the most fish.
So I hope the families can come out and enjoy themselves in this nice weather today and enjoy just celebrating the 4th of July together.
The winner of the adult division received some Pittsburgh Chamber bucks, and in the kids division, the winner got a fishing pole. The many activities at Pittsburgh's Lincoln Park also included a Cutest baby contest. Participants were in boy and girl categories in 6 to 12 months or 12 to 24 months. The contest is a long-standing tradition for the Pittsburgh Independence Day celebration.
Well, as a child, my mom took me to all of them, mainly with my grandpa. And so it was just kind of a little tradition that I was so excited to continue on once I had her. So we're just excited to do it and to spend the 4th of July with family and friends and at the day at the park.
And of course, the best part of the contest was that every single baby was cute. Just outside Pittsburgh sits the unincorporated community of Chicopee. Though it's small, Chicopee has a lot of history. That includes a schoolhouse that was established in 1869 and ran 400 years. There's also the Chicopee Rural Water District that was established in 1951. On Monday, the community honored both parts of history by dedicating a memorial in the old schoolyard.
Well, I'm kind of the local historian here, and I've researched the area hospital or the area history here for 60 years, and so that kind of means a lot to me to see some of the history recognized.
The memorial is made of brick and cut stone and features a flagpole. Last week's deadly Amtrak crash in northern Missouri happened on a railroad crossing that was unguarded and uncontrolled. Those kinds of crossings are also in Kansas. Unlike controlled or signal crossings, there's no advance warning if a train is coming. Reporter Sean Lodging has more.
In the rural rustic landscape of Kansas, intercut is gravel roads and lines of train tracks.
There's a lot of uncontrolled intersections all across Kansas.
Uncontrolled means there might only be a sign to warn drivers there's a railroad crossing ahead.
You know, when we see tracks, we should think train.
KHP Trooper Ben Gardner says these uncontrolled crossings are where they often see crashes.
People don't expect them. They travel through these roads, they get fatigued or relaxed or comfortable in their travels, not really elevating the concerns of the tracks that are getting ready to approach. and then before they realize it, that the train right there in that same space.
Data collected by Kansas Highway Patrol shows in the 10 years between 2011 and 2020, there were more than 2,000 crashes at railroad crossings.
We're not the number one. I mean, California, Texas, Illinois, them are three consistent states up there that are very high on there, more tracks in their state.
The data shows that only a portion of these crashes at railroad crossings involved a collision with a train. Trooper Ben tells me one thing for drivers to keep in mind is while it only takes you a few seconds to bring your car to a stop, for a train it's oftentimes hundreds of feet before it can finally come to a halt.
The ratio I always think of, a vehicle versus a pop can would be the same comparison of a train versus a car. It's going to win.
For example, the average freight train traveling 55 miles an hour can take more than a mile to stop.
Collision occurs with a vehicle, you are at fault. It's not the train's fault.
Again, that was Sean Lojing reporting. Now here's Nick with a look at our forecast.
And it's going to be another hot one, Jalen. Even if a few spots in our far western counties on the Kansas side could get a slight chance for a random rain or storm, or how about a shower or storm this morning, this is going to be hot and humid. 95 by noon, pushing 100 degrees for the official high today. Heat indices, though, could be running as hot as 108. Then I have 101 Wednesday, 102 Thursday, 103 Friday. Not only could they be flirting or maybe close to breaking record highs, but those alert days are up because on those days the humidity could make it feel like 110. So that is a big heads up for anybody with outdoor plans for much of this week and even going into the start of the weekend. In the meantime, what's our something to talk about this morning, Jalen?
This morning we are discussing the 4th of July. With Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court, that has led to protests across the country. There's been several in Joplin, and now there's some going on in Oklahoma. What makes this one special is that it's being hosted on the 4th. The organizers wanted to make a stand and bring the community together. This brings us to our something to talk about. What did you do for the 4th of July?
Easily. I just slept, and thankfully I didn't get woken up by too many fireworks outside my place.
Yeah, having to get up super early for the morning show, I tried my best to get some rest, but my neighbors were celebrating the 4th as best as they can, to say the least.
Yeah, like a lot of people in town know how to do that, that's for sure. But we want to hear from you. We've got the whole bevy of options down below, and our Insta poll is open. So be sure you head over to KOMNewsNow.com/vote. You can vote with the KOM News Now app for iOS and Android, and I think we have this pinned on our Facebook page as well, so they can chime in, Jalen, over there with how they entertain themselves on the 4th this year.
Awesome. That's a look at our top stories coming up this half hour on KOM Morning News. The pandemic took classrooms away, and it had effects on kids. A psychologist from Colorado steps in to help with an animal pen pal program. Plus, Denmark sees a deadly shooting despite having a lot of restrictions on guns. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, a deadly shooting happened in Denmark at a shopping mall, a country where gun violence is rare. Video from the scene shows people running away from the alleged gunman, who appears to be armed with a rifle. The attack in the Danish capital of Copenhagen left 3 people dead and 4 others with gunshot wounds. Charlie DeGata is tracking the development from London.
Police in Denmark say the shooter is a 22-year-old Danish man known to mental health services. There's no indication it is terror-related. We should warn you, this report contains images some might find disturbing. Cell phone footage shows the alleged gunman casually strolling through Field's shopping mall in Copenhagen, slinging his rifle over his shoulder, then giving chase. Terrified shoppers fled for their lives as he opened fire. A 17-year-old boy and girl are among the victims, both Danish, as well as a 47-year-old Russian man, 4 more critically wounded. Police say he appeared to choose victims at random, then gave up without a fight. A Harry Styles concert nearby was canceled due to the shooting. The singer tweeting, "I'm devastated for the victims, their families, and everyone hurting. I'm sorry we couldn't be together. Please look after each other." Charlie DeGata, CBS News, London.
It's the Pride of Paris and one of the world's most recognizable landmarks. But the Eiffel Tower is badly in need of repairs. The soaring wrought iron structure presiding over the City of Lights is now riddled with rust. But instead of repairs, it's getting more than a $60 million cosmetic paint job ahead of the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. That's according to a confidential report cited by French magazine The Marianne. It's the tower's 20th time being repainted. The 1,000 plus foot tower was built by Gustave Eiffel in the late 19th century. An unnamed manager at the tower told the magazine, quote, "If Gustave Eiffel visited the place, he would have a heart attack. The company that oversees the tower cannot be immediately reached for comment." The Eiffel Tower gets about 6 million visitors a year. Pope Francis says his health issues will not cause him to step down from the Vatican. During an interview with Reuters, the pontiff said it, quote, "never entered my mind." The Pope says he had a small fracture in his knee and that one of the ligaments was inflamed. He also denied rumors that he had cancer. Francis was scheduled to visit 2 African countries this month, but doctors advised him to skip the trips due to his knee problems. The Pope also told reporters that he does plan to make visits to Ukraine and Russia. That's a look at some of your biggest stories around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. For today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. We know the identity of the man who drowned at the Dripping Springs area of Grand Lake this weekend. Officials with Emporia State University in Kansas say the man, Brexton Green, was a student there. The university says Green, originally from Cashin, Oklahoma, was a sophomore and a wide receiver on the football team. Authorities say Green was cliff jumping into the water, but did not resurface. A Wyandotte, Oklahoma man dies after a crash yesterday morning while on his motorcycle in Newton County, Missouri. Authorities say 61-year-old Bruce Dodge was driving north on Missouri State Highway 43 of Seneca when he crashed into the back of a pickup. Dodge was pronounced dead at the scene, and the other driver was not hurt. A Southwest Missouri legislator resigned her seat after being convicted of fraudulently taking COVID-19 relief funds on Friday. Republican State Senate Representative Tricia Durgis of Nixa sent her resignation letter to House Speaker Rob Vescovo. Durgis was an assistant physician at several clinics. She was convicted last month on 22 counts, including wire fraud, illegal distribution of controlled substances, and making false statements to investigators. Federal prosecutors argued she claimed nearly $900,000 in federal funding for COVID-19 treatments that weren't performed or had already been performed. The state of Oklahoma plans to execute an inmate on death row nearly every month until 2025. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals set execution dates for 6 prisoners with plans to execute 25 in the next 25 months. The court is responding to a request by Oklahoma Attorney General John O'Connor. Capital punishment in Oklahoma had been on hold due to a moratorium prompted by botched lethal injections. Oklahoma currently has a backlog of 44 people on death row. Under the new push, the first scheduled execution is set for August 25th. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as far as your forecast goes, everybody, there is just the slimmest chance that before 9 or 10 o'clock this morning, a couple spots in our far western counties, mainly on the Kansas side, could see a random shower or storm clip them. However, it is again a very slim chance. A lot of us staying dry, not just this morning, but throughout the rest of the day. We'll push 95 degrees by noon, and I think officially highs today will top out around 100, if not exactly 100 degrees. Humidity will make it feel like we're well in the triple digits, maybe as hot as 108 before the day is all said and done. Hot this evening, but we'll eventually get a little bit of a break from the heat, but still warm by tomorrow morning with lows dropping back near 77. Alert days continue Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with lower triple digits for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And with the humidity, it could feel like 110 for each of those afternoons in a number of spots. Hopefully with another front approaching by the weekend, not only could that give us a few storms Friday and Saturday, hopefully it'll give us a chance to at least drop back into the upper 90s for Saturday and Sunday.
When the pandemic took classrooms away from children, there were some consequences. It was especially tough on younger kids who may have missed out on developing social and emotional skills. As classrooms opened back up, a psychologist in Colorado saw the need and wanted to help in that area. Nelson Garcia shows us her new program that uses farm animals as pen pals for young kids.
growing up on a farm provides a certain perspective on life. A perspective kids may not even know they need.
Marta, do you want to lead them back to the baby goats and I'll follow?
Dr. Jessica Pfeiffer is a psychologist who says the pandemic impacted young students' interactions.
When COVID hit, there were so many changes, moving to that remote learning, and it was a space that the kids could share, hey, I miss being by my friends. I miss routines.
Hi, Ashley. Hi.
Dr. Pfeiffer says they missed development.
We created Barn Buddies, which is a pen pal program. The students get to write to the animals about life, and the animals read the letters and write back.
Dear Felix, I have one question.
They write to the pigs.
He's cute.
To the goats.
Okay.
To the alpacas. The Barn Buddies all respond with the help of Natalie Hittmeyer.
Daisy and I have spent a lot of time together, so I feel like I can understand what she's saying.
I don't want to be the spoiler of bad news, but the animals actually cannot write.
I'm not the animal, I am the interpreter. They whisper in my ear, I listen, and I write it down, and I send it back.
Natalie is a social worker
Oh my God, there's a chicken.
working on kids' mental health.
No one's trying to fool the kids. It's for us coming from that social emotional perspective. How are we able to create this safe space so the kids can communicate about everything that they're feeling?
Your animal isn't going to say something mean to you, like your friend might if they're not thinking.
Hello, Felix. Are you friends with Gary? Because in the note you didn't say what friend you were talking about.
The animal will bring up an issue that they're having with one of their friends. Say one of their friends is being mean to them and they don't know what to do. And so they'll ask the kids for help and guidance on what to do in those situations.
Thank you for sending us notes from Nora. If you pull too hard on Pepsi, does that choke her?
Chloe James is a first grader, happy to offer advice to her friends on the farm.
They wanted to know questions about how they could interact with their feelings.
Like the others,
Bye, Daisy. Bye, Daisy.
Chloe
Have a good day.
finally meets her pen pals.
Who wants to come over here? I have a little cute one.
And it's all joy,
Not the snow.
almost.
More than ever right now, we need avenues for our students to connect, not just with humans, but with animals.
Dr. Pfeiffer says the farm visit teaches children about non-threatening behavior.
There you go. Good job, good job, good job.
I think they can be a little nervous sometimes when they haven't met people that are around them. Don't let him jump. He's scared. He's scared.
Perspective on life,
Different ways to control your feelings.
taught on the farm to kids, by kids.
Well, I think there's something very holistic about being in a relationship with an animal.
The Barn Buddies program works with schools to teach children through a neurobiological lens, not just an academic one. We'll be right back with a look at our forecast.
We're back. We're going to take our time with a full look at the forecast here before we hit the top of the hour. We're starting to look this morning upstairs at the jet stream level, a good deal up in the sky, even though our main weather feature will be primarily focused on the stubborn upper level ridge, a high pressure centered over the state of Louisiana, including southern parts of Mississippi. There is one weak little upper level wave working across the Kansas-Oklahoma border, and if we zoom in a little tighter, it's actually strong enough to prompt a few showers and even a couple of thunderstorms, mainly west of 35 from about Wichita, not too far from Hutch and Newton, Kansas, all the way down just to the west of Ponca City. There is the slimmest chance that a couple spots in our very far western counties, mainly on the Kansas side, might see a little bit of that energy result in a random shower or storm. You can see a couple echoes trying to pop up in parts of Woodson and Anderson counties as well. But that is probably the best that we can do in terms of any rain chances for today, because this is our main weather headline, no matter how you slice it and dice it. Heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas until at least 8 o'clock this evening, and then these successive heat warnings for our corners from Kansas and Missouri, rather. Those are going to hold firm until we hit midnight going into Friday, where hopefully a front by the weekend can at least cut back on the heat and humidity just a little bit. But we're getting closer to officially to sunrise, and we're still seeing the sun start to brighten things up from the eastern horizon once again. 77 though, warm start this morning at Joplin Regional. Feels like 79 with a dew point at least a little bit better than where we were in the 24 hours ago, sitting in the upper 60s. It doesn't change the fact, though, that even though we're in the middle to upper 70s, those dew points still enough to make it feel like the upper 70s to about 81-ish to noon, and even 80 over near Stockton Lake. On a day like today, normally we should be starting at 69 and topping out near 90. We're running well above those numbers already this morning and definitely going above normal for this afternoon. I'm thinking 81 degrees by 8 a.m. Still that slim chance that our far western counties on the Kansas side might see a random shower or storm. That's going to be the rare exception for today rather than the rule. As far as the rule goes, everyone's mostly sunny today. We'll push 95 by noon and highs topping out around 100 degrees. That's around Joplin, but you can see how everybody goes into mainly the lower to middle 90s by the start of the afternoon and pushing close to 100, if not a lot of upper 90s on the board before the afternoon is all said and done. Another warm start for your Wednesday, and then back in the lower triple digits as we go into your Wednesday afternoon. But now, a quick mention of the heat indices. The humidity can make it feel as hot as 107, 108 degrees in a number of spots. And these numbers are going to repeat themselves again as we go into Wednesday with a high of 101. 102 Thursday, 103 Friday, then hopefully we can at least drop back into the upper 90s Saturday and Sunday with a front that could bring in a couple showers and storms our way Friday and Saturday. Another hour of news coming up.
Coming up, the state of Oklahoma sets execution dates for 6 inmates with plans to execute 25 more in the next 25 months.
The sun's brightening things up, but that's going to push us near triple digits, if not hit it for today. Full forecast coming up.
Also, the 4 states lit up the night with 4th of July celebrations, but only Carthage celebrated the red, white, and boom.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Jalen Banks. We've got those stories, plus an interview with Jasmine Kyle from the SCK Humane Society in just a little bit. But first, let's turn to meteorologist Nick Kelly. And let's hear about this triple-digit heat.
Yeah, believe it or not, Jalen, there are some people that like this type of weather, so they'll certainly be happy to hear that triple-digit heat is on the cards for us today. But let's focus on the positive things, because believe it or not, there are positive things on a day like today. For example, 7th and Range Line, nice-looking sunrise underway from the eastern horizon. However, these heat advisories are taking hold in northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas for at least today at the very least, but you see all these excessive heat warnings for our corners of Kansas and Missouri. That will hold until we hit midnight going into Friday, so we're still in the earliest throes of a prolonged stretch of just pure July heat and humidity. It's actually trying to spark a couple showers in our far northwestern counties. We can zoom in around Woodson County and across Anderson County, I believe. Maybe a couple stray showers trying to materialize just west of Yates Center and heading north along 75 up to about Burlington. But the bigger picture shows any better chances of rain hitting the ground this morning is from a cluster of storms west of 35 from Wichita and scooting back just to the west of Ponca City in north central parts of Oklahoma. That is due to a weak upper level low at the jet stream level. In fact, I will do a little John Madden telestrating here. It's this little guy right along the Kansas-Oklahoma border, but it's not going to hang around for long. It'll do its thing for the next few hours, and then the upper level ridge, that will be in control for the rest of the day. Middle to upper 70s, that's where we sit at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. The humidity, though, makes it feel like the upper 70s to lower 80s already. And we are not done warming up by a long shot. We'll push 85 by 9 a.m. The last of the slight rain chances should be out of here by then. 95 by noon. We'll push ice near 100 degrees today, Jalen. But again, the humidity is going to make it feel like 105 to 108 in some of the hottest spots for today. And we'll still trend a little hotter for the next few days. If anyone missed it or just joining us this morning, we'll give them a first look at the 7-day coming up in a bit.
So even with a chance of a little bit of rain,
it's not going to scrub out the heat, unfortunately.
Oh, man. Well, thank you, Nick.
All right.
We know the identity of the man who drowned at the Dripping Springs area of Grand Lake this weekend. Officials with Emporia State University in Kansas say the man, Braxton Green, was a student there. The university says Green, originally from Cashin, Oklahoma, was a sophomore and a wide receiver on the football team. Authorities say Green was cliff jumping into the water, but did not resurface. A Wyandotte, Oklahoma man dies after a crash yesterday morning while on his motorcycle in Newton County, Missouri. Authorities say 61-year-old Bruce Dodge was driving north on Missouri State Highway 43 north of Seneca when he crashed into the back of a pickup. Dodge was pronounced dead at the scene. The other driver was not hurt. The state of Oklahoma plans to execute an inmate on death row nearly every month until 2025. The Oklahoma Court of Appeals set execution dates for 6 prisoners, with plans to execute 25 in the next 29 months. The court is responding to a request by Oklahoma Attorney General John O'Connor. Capital punishment in Oklahoma had been on hold due to a moratorium prompted by botched lethal injections. Oklahoma currently has a backlog of 44 people on death row. Under the new push, the first scheduled execution is set for August 25th. Police say a person of interest is in custody after Monday's mass shooting at Independence Day in a parade in a Chicago suburb. At least 6 people were killed and about 30 injured in the gun violence that shocked the nation as Americans celebrated the 4th of July. Bradley Blackburn has the latest on the nation's 309th mass shooting of the year.
Highland Park police say the gunman opened fire from a rooftop, spraying bullets onto the crowd below as people watched an Independence Day parade.
I remember hearing shootings and going like, and then reloading and then again, and people screaming and running. All I thought about is just, getting my daughter to safety, and I ran with her.
Close to 9 hours later, police took a person of interest, Robert Cremo III, into custody. Officials said his vehicle was spotted and he was stopped after a brief chase.
Subject was taken into custody without incident. This individual is believed to have been responsible for what happened. They've processed a significant amount of digital evidence today, which helped lead investigators in this direction.
Police believe the gunman used a high-powered rifle to fire from a spot on top of a commercial building here along the parade route. They say he was very difficult to see.
We saw a man had a shot in his back and saw a man on the floor bleeding and another person shot.
This man, who brought his 5-year-old son to the parade in this Chicago suburb, initially thought the July 4th gunfire was a Navy gun salute until he saw people running and the horror unfolding.
You feel like you're just going to get shot when you're running away, and it's just horrible to see all that terror.
Investigators recovered a firearm at the scene. Authorities say 5 adults died there. 1 victim died at the hospital. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, Highland Park, Illinois.
In 2019, the father of the person of interest unsuccessfully ran for mayor of Highland Park, campaigning as a person for the people. If you're ever on the go and you want to still be able to watch our newscast live, just download the KOAM Plus app. It's available free of charge on the Apple and Google Play stores, as well as Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Just search for KOAM Plus. Area communities celebrated our nation's Independence Day on Monday. The city of Carthage held its annual celebration of Independence Day at the municipal park. Sponsored iced watermelon was for the grabs. The YMCA offered free community swim to the event goers. The fireworks show for the event kicked off at 9:30. Coming up later on the show, our own Amber Jenkins takes us on a tour of the festivities. On this date in 1975, Arthur Ashe defeats heavily favored Jimmy Connors to become the first black man ever to win Wimbledon, the most coveted championship in tennis. In 1968, Ashe became the first black man to win the U.S. Open, and 2 years later, he captured the Australian Open for his second Grand Slam title. But Wimbledon remained elusive. Arthur Ashe was 31 years old in 1975 and seemingly well past his prime, so many thought he didn't have a chance against the defending champ. Ashe stuck to his game plan and defeated Connors in 4 sets. Ashe retired from competitive tennis in 1980 after suffering a heart attack. For his career, he won 51 tournaments.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, well past your prime, being the underdog, pulling off the upset. It's pretty storybook. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Should we do another quick check of the forecast, Jalen?
Yeah.
All right, even though I certainly don't want to, given how hot it'll be today, it's certainly helpful so we can plan accordingly. We'll push 100 degrees this afternoon after we get past maybe just the slightest chance of a random shower or storm in our far western counties this morning. And we are not done heating up yet. 101 Wednesday, 102 Thursday, 100 free Friday, alert days, not just because of the heat, but the humidity that could make it feel like 110 in some spots, certainly as we go into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Jalen.
All right, thank you, Nick. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Jasmine Kyle, the director of the SEK Humane Society, stops by to talk about our furry friends forever and homes. Plus, America's east and west coast beefed up patrols after a rash of shark attacks, including one that resulted in the loss of a leg for a Florida teenager. And research leads to a new way to diagnose serious cases of asthma as numbers around the world continue to rise. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, Clint Eastwood has won another big lawsuit against the Cbd Industry. The 92-year-old actor sued a California-based marketing company that used his likeness without permission. The verdict awards Eastwood and the agency that owns the rights to his name and image outside of movies $2 million in damages. It's the second win against the Cbd Industry for Eastwood and his agency. In October, they won a $6.1 million claim in a similar lawsuit against a Lithuanian company. Additional lawsuits are reportedly still making their way through the courts. Areas along the east and west coast are stepping up shark patrols after a number of recent attacks. One incident is going to cost the Florida teenager her leg. Bradley Blackburn reports.
Lifeguards here on Long Island are on the lookout this July 4th for sharks.
That makes you a little nervous, but hopefully it's just normal course when you're going to the beach.
We are increasing our patrols of the waters.
Shark patrols, including drone use, are ramped up across the area after a handful of incidents, including one over the weekend.
We're going out into their world.
A lifeguard further east on the island was attacked during a training exercise where he was ironically playing a victim.
I felt sharp pain. I knew it was some kind of, once I felt the rubbery texture, I knew it was some kind of shark.
Last week, a 9-foot shark grabbed a Florida teenager while she was scalloping.
I tried to push it off of me and punch in its nose, and then it kept trying to drag me under because we were in like 6 feet of water.
She is scheduled for amputation surgery on Tuesday, and a California man nearly bled to death last month in Pacific Grove.
We had to quickly cut his wetsuit off of him and open it all up and then try to, apply the tourniquets.
Experts stress shark attacks are extremely rare. Your chance of being bitten is 1 in 11 million. Still, there are some precautions you can take. Signs like this one on Cape Cod remind swimmers never to go out alone and keep close to shore. Beachgoers can also check out new apps that track shark sightings.
Just, be aware. It's something to definitely be aware of.
A reminder to play it safe this summer. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, Long Beach, New York. There were 47 shark bites in 2021, up more than 40% from the previous year. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. We'll be right back with Jasmine Kyle from the SEK Humane Society, live in studio right after this.
We are back, and of course it's not Tuesday unless we get a visit from the SEK Humane Society. We got the director herself, Jasmine Kyle, back with us. Good morning, Jasmine.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, and of course we can't help but notice our special guest. Who do we bring today?
Yeah, so this is Betty. Betty, as you can see, is very, very sweet. She is, you wouldn't believe it with how active she is, but she's an 8.5-year-old black lab mix. Betty, as you can see, knows how to sit on command. She also knows how to shake on command, too.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because she just kept facing toward us before we got back to the break, but right on command, I think she knows how to play it up for the camera.
Yes, she does. So Betty's a fantastic dog. She's been to several kids' educational events. That's actually her at Root Coffee House here in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
We had a special pop-up adoption event just for her during the Christmas time, and she got to walk in Pittsburgh with all the Christmas lights and got to meet people. She is very human positive. She's very food motivated too, but at the end of the day, just like how she was coming on and giving you the commands, just seeing you, she loves people, is great with kids. She's just looking for a home with no other animals. but we're currently at full capacity right now. So we recently got in some support from a wonderful organization called Petco Love.
Oh, really?
And with their help, this Saturday and this Sunday,
This is a good event coming up.
we will be waiving all dog adoption fees, won't we?
Yes, we will.
So that means that none of the dogs will have any adoption fees. All of our adoptable dogs are already spayed and neutered. They're microchipped, and they're up to date on their vaccinations too. We will also be offering our Foster to Adopt program as long as you fit within the Kansas Department of Ag's guidelines with us. And then all adopters are also going to get a free collar and a free leash too with their babies this weekend.
That's amazing. It's like, and I've heard of just so many great stories about like people either wanting pets or not expecting a pet to come to events like yours, and all it takes is just one look for them to find their forever friend and to get a wonderful animal like Betty their forever home.
Exactly. Now, we do recommend two things. So one, if you have another dog in particular and you're wanting to add another into your household, make sure you bring them. We will do meet and greets. We have play yards. Let's
Okay.
make sure the kids get along with each other. And secondly, if you rent, make sure to let your landlord know this weekend you will be getting a call maybe. So, because we still have to do landlord checks per Kansas Department of Ag. I know, you're excited for this weekend, aren't you? Thank you. Thank you.
I think she's the only one excited about the weekend given how our weather's looking, but and I'm wondering if I had a quick question for you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I guess for a dog like Betty, but I guess for other dogs too, I don't know if she's like a indoor or outdoor dog, but for those that may not or maybe first-time pet owners, even if a dog like Betty may or may not be outdoor pets, is there any way that dogs can like be outside at all during this heat, or is it just best to just keep them inside, keep them cool however they can?
Yeah, that's actually per our contract. Our dogs cannot be outdoor only. Have to be indoor or outdoor. We're mostly, it's major ratioed towards indoor, because again, especially with this state of Kansas, you guys have some crazy heat indexes sometimes. Per our actual protocol out at the shelter, if it comes over a certain degree out there, all the dogs come inside. Even if we have dogs that want to remain outside, it's for their best health interest that we get them into indoor areas. 95% of our shelter property is under AC and everything, but we never recommend to keep your dog outside. They're just like kids, and the thing is, they have double coats of fur too, so they will experience heat exhaustion. They will experience heat stroke, especially dogs like Betty who has a black coat. She is going to suck up that sun wave, unfortunately.
Yeah, and unless I'm mistaken, it's like, I mean, dogs just try to relieve themselves of heat through certain ways. They can't sweat easily. They cool themselves like us humans.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. They think, oh yeah, you know, they're panting, they're relieving sweat. That way, no, they are very bad at relieving that. So,
I mean, I think it's like panting and maybe, I think through their paws. That's the only way
through
they
their
can
paws,
relieve
but it's
heat,
only through a small percentage. They don't unfortunately have a lot of ways where they can really shed off that heat, especially car trips in the summertime. We really don't recommend it unless you're going to places that already allow dogs. We did an example with kids this past weekend where we showed them an example of how long it takes for that car to heat up, even with air conditioning. If you were to go in and get your groceries,
it heats
in
up
10 to
insanely
15
fast.
minutes, you've got a difference of almost 20 degrees inside your car. So going from 75 to 95 really, really quickly, especially for certain breeds like pugs who already have upper respiratory issues, you're asking for trouble. So please, during July, during August, please keep them at least partially inside. They need it. They need it.
And I guess the general rule of thumb is like if you can't handle it, the pets certainly can't handle it. So you need to keep them cool however they can.
Absolutely. A good rule of call, especially because again, they're fur babies. They need to be walked. Put your hand to the concrete. If that concrete is too hot for you to touch, do not let them go outside. Because again, they're walking on their skin. They're walking on their paws. If your hand's getting burnt, their paws are getting burnt. So please don't let them go out on that.
All right. Well, that's good to hear, Jasmine. It's a great test, certainly with the heat on the way. Before we go, though, any contact information, any way that people want to reach out to you about the event coming up especially?
Yeah, so you can head on over to our website. It's thesckhumanesociety.com. We'll be open this Saturday from noon to 4, this Sunday from 1 to 4. You guys can come out during that time and view all of our animals on property, or if you want to set up an appointment beforehand, head on over to our website again. You can fill out an application for any of our animals, and we will get you a private appointment set up.
All right. That sounds good. We always love it when you stop by, Jasmine. Thank you very much. Thank you, Betty, for stepping by. Or how about stopping by? There we go. And we'll be right back. Stick with us.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new study suggests children today are heavier than they were the last decade. Researchers say the percentage of kindergartners considered obese has jumped. Ashe Martinez has more on the findings.
A new study in the journal Pediatrics finds children between the ages of 6 and 11 have greater rates of obesity when compared with children 12 years ago. Researchers followed two groups of children. The first started kindergarten in 1998 and the second group in 2010. They tracked their height and weight measurements through 5th grade. At every age, more children in the 2010 group were considered obese. Researchers also say fewer children in this second group entered kindergarten with a normal body mass index. Childhood obesity is considered an epidemic in the U.S. The CDC estimates 14.7 million children and adolescents are obese. Obese young people are more likely to be obese as adults and develop diabetes and other risk factors for heart disease, such as high blood pressure and cholesterol at earlier ages. Researchers also found social disparities, with more black children developing obesity by the 5th grade, while incidence in other race and ethnicity groups remained unchanged or decreased. Ashe Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Around the world, more than 260 million people suffer from asthma, and their numbers keep growing. Researchers in Australia have discovered a new way to diagnose the most serious and potentially deadly cases. By analyzing urine samples, they identified biochemical changes that occur in the lungs. They hope the finding will lead to new treatments for severe asthma, which can't be controlled by existing medications. Frozen sperm is as effective as fresh samples when used as a fertility treatment. That's the finding of a long-term study conducted at Harvard and Massachusetts General Hospital. It found that freezing sperm had no impact on pregnancy rates, though it noted some women tended to get pregnant faster by using fresh samples. And MRIs remain the gold standard for visualizing prostate cancer. A study presented in Amsterdam said older MRI technology appears to be more accurate than the new prostate-specific PET/CT imaging systems. In a test, both machines were used to screen patients for prostate abnormalities. They were equally effective at detecting clinically significant cancers. Both biopsies showed the MRIs were better at detecting all other grades of the disease. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And before we hit that commercial break, I want to start out with a quick look at the Skywatch storage tracker. Watching a couple of showers and storms trying to cross over I-35 between Wichita and Ponca City. That might want to come by a few parts of our far western counties on the Kansas side, but the main story today is the continued heat and humidity, driving all these heat advisories and heat warnings, excessive heat warnings for much of the area. So we are already in the middle of upper 70s this morning. We'll be near 81 by 8 o'clock, 95 by noon, topping out near 100 degrees for an official high today. But heat indices, though, near 100 by noon, and pushing up to 107, maybe 108 at the hottest this afternoon. Quick look at the 7-day. Has us staying in the lower triple digits Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with the high humidity sticking around as well. More coming up.
Coming up, the state of Oklahoma sets execution dates for 6 inmates, with plans to execute 25 more in the next 29 months.
The rising sun is getting us set for yet another hot and humid day across the area. We'll break down today's numbers coming up.
Also, the 4 states lit up the night with 4th of July celebrations, but only Carthage celebrated the red, white, and boom.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:31. I'm Jalen Banks. We've got those stories coming up for you in just a bit, but Nick, let's see why it's so hot outside.
Well, for one reason, Jalen, we have the sun that's beginning to rise now on the eastern horizon. That's going to be more incoming energy from the sun to heat things up again throughout the day. But as I take you to the Skywatch storm tracker, we've got heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma for today, northwest Arkansas as well, and the excessive heat warnings for our corners of Kansas and Oklahoma. They're not going to fall by the wayside until we hit midnight going into early Friday morning. And in the short term, though, I have been keeping an eye on a few road little showers around Yates Center and across parts of Anderson and almost Coffee counties too. But any prevalent showers and storms this morning, which actually have been able to materialize just west of I-35 between Wichita and Ponca City. But this is the big reason why we're so hot. It's not because of that little upper level low just southwest of Wichita. It's the big upper level ridge driven by that big blue H sitting over the Mississippi River, over Louisiana and Mississippi. That is our main weather driver that will keep us hot and humid again for today. Mid to upper 70s, that's where a lot of us sit at 6:32 on this Tuesday morning. It feels like 80 in spots already, and the numbers will only climb through the rest of the day. 85 by 9 a.m. If we had any slight rain chances, try to hang around by then. Jalen, they'll be out of here by the time we hit 9 a.m. Then 95 by noon, pushing 100 today, and all those heat warnings and heat advisories for today, that's for heat indices. I could push it near 108 in some spots before the day is all said and done. And we'll see how long this will continue. We'll look at the extended forecast here in a bit.
Yeah, normally when you're pushing, triple digits, it's a good thing. But not when it comes to heat in the 4 states.
No, so you could argue a dry heat's better than hot and humid, but we got to deal with the latter for sure today again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Nick.
All right.
The state of Oklahoma plans to execute an inmate on death row nearly every month until 2025. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals has set execution dates for 6 prisoners with plans to execute 25 more in the next 29 months. The court is responding to a request by Oklahoma Attorney General John O'Connor. Capital punishment in Oklahoma had been on hold due to a moratorium prompted by botched lethal injections. Oklahoma currently has a backlog of 44 people on death row under the new push. The first scheduled execution is set for August 25th. The Caney, Kansas Police Department warns residents to be on alert after a string of vehicle break-ins. Officials say if your vehicle is parked outside, you should make sure it's locked and remove any valuables from it. They're also asking people with security cameras to review the footage from last night and contact them in the event that you see anything suspicious. A Southwest Missouri legislator resigns her seat after being convicted of fraudulently taking COVID-19 relief funds. On Friday, Republican State Representative Tricia Durgis of Nixa sent her resignation letter to House Speaker Rob Vescovo. Durgis was an assistant physician at several clinics. She was convicted last month on 22 counts, including wire fraud, illegal distribution of controlled substances, and making false statements to investigators. Federal prosecutors urged she claimed nearly $900,000 in federal funding for COVID-19 treatments that weren't performed or had already been performed. The city of Carthage hosts a 4th of July celebration called the Red, White, and Boom. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more on the festivities.
The city of Carthage is celebrating Independence Day with fun-filled activities such as a free community swim, live music, ending with a bang of fireworks.
Red, White, and Boom has been going on in the community for over 20 years. This is a staple with the Carthage community.
Red, White, and Blue had many local sponsors who provided activities. The YMCA offered a free community swim, and Midwest Ag Supply offered iced watermelon to event goers.
We couldn't do it without amazing sponsors, and we're very grateful for the opportunity to not only showcase our community to those that live here, but also to those that are visiting and looking for something to do while they're here in Carthage.
Despite all the activities, spending time with family is what made Red, White, and Boom successful.
I'm having a fun time with my family, eating pancakes.
However, throughout the day, everybody was anticipating one thing.
Fireworks.
Before the fireworks, musicians Cole Moritz and Stone Country providing live music. In Carthage, Amber Jenkins, KUAM News.
The fireworks show kicked off at 9:30 last night. Just outside Pittsburgh sits the unincorporated community of Chicopee. Though it's small, Chicopee has a lot of history. That includes a schoolhouse that was established in 1869 and ran for 100 years. There's also the Chicopee Rural Water District, established in 1951. On Monday, the community honored both parts of history by dedicating a memorial in the old schoolyard.
Well, I'm kind of the local historian here, and I've researched the area hospital or the area history here for 60 years, and so that kind of means a lot to me to see some of the history recognized.
The memorial is made of brick and cut stone and features a flagpole. On this date in 1865, revivalist preacher William Booth and his wife Catherine established the Christian mission later known as the Salvation Army. Today, the Salvation Army, still based in London, has branches in more than 75 countries. The Army operates evangelical centers, hospitals, emergency and disaster services, alcohol and drug rehabilitation programs, community centers, social work centers, secondhand stores, and recreation facilities. Voluntary contributions and profits from the sale of its publications fund the organization.
All right, let's switch gears, Jalen, and let's talk about our forecast for today, because we're getting set for yet another surprise, hot and humid one. Maybe a random thunderstorm or two in our far western and northern counties on the Kansas side this morning. Otherwise, hot, humid, and dry. Those are the three main key takeaways for today. 95 by noon, pushing near 100 degrees this afternoon, but that's not taking into account the humidity. It's going to make it feel like 105 to about 108 on some spots this afternoon, and we'll stay in the lower triple digits Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, maybe pushing 103 on Friday. That holds for the start of the weekend, Jalen. That could be a new record high set for Friday, but records or not, everyone's just got to take it easy today until we try to get a little bit of a break in the heat like Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get a chance to break any of these records. We can just stay right below, so we're not sweating too bad over the next 3-4 days.
Yeah, hopefully later today when I revise these numbers, we can have some better numbers by noon, but this is how things look, and nonetheless, we just got to be ready for whatever heads our way.
Well, sounds good. Thank you, Nick. That's a look at your top stories coming up on this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Americans may have had more room to belly up to the table for the holiday as grilling out costs more this year. We'll take a look at the factors driving up the cost. Plus, now that the fireworks have gone off of everybody's heading back to work, we want to take one last look back and ask what you did for the holiday. That's our question this morning, and we want you to weigh in, and we'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, as Americans celebrate their freedom this 4th of July, grilling out with friends and family will be anything but cheap. Melissa Rainey looks at the factors driving up the cost of celebrations in today's Consumer Watch.
Americans are likely spending more on this year's 4th of July celebrations than last. The root cause?
We're still going to have inflation for quite some time to come, and we're probably going to have a slowing economy as well.
In the 4 weeks ending on June 12th, the price of a package of hot dogs jumped about 17% compared to last year, according to the market research firm IRI. In that same period, ketchup prices spiked 21%. Ground beef prices increased 11%, and hamburger and hot dog buns jumped nearly 13%.
These I normally pay $2 at the most, maybe $3 something a bag, $5.50 I believe.
We got some more chips that were more expensive. The drinks are a little costly. They're like,
eggs are more expensive now.
The factors fueling the increase include the war in Ukraine, severe weather, and higher gas prices.
I'm paying double what I used to pay.
The good news? Beer remains relatively cheap, spiking only about 4%, a bargain compared to other increases this year.
A federal judge ruled in favor of 3 major U.S. drug distributors in a $2.5 billion lawsuit that accused them of causing an opioid health crisis in one West Virginia county. The suit said Amerisource, Bergen Drug, Cardinal Health, and Mickelson distributed tens of millions of pills in Cable County over 8 years. In his 184-page ruling, the judge wrote that opioid cases must be decided not based on sympathy, but on the facts of law. U.S. breakfast food giant Kellogg lost a legal battle in Britain. Kellogg tried to block new anti-obesity measures banning the promotion of sugary cereals. The rules are set to take effect in October. A high court judge rejected the company's argument that the regulations don't consider the nutritional value of milk added to the cereal. That's it for Consumer Watch. Now let's go over to Nick for our Something to Talk About.
Let's talk about the 4th of July, Jalen, but a different way of marking the holiday, certainly with Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court, actually led the protests across the country, including on the 4th. There's been several in Joplin and some ongoing in Oklahoma. And this video we're showing you was protest on the 4th of July. Organizers wanted to make a stand to bring the community together, but that brings us to our something to talk about. How did you mark the 4th of July this year? You saw how they protested, but a lot of us, I'm sure, fireworks, traveling, barbecue. We got a whole bevy of options on our poll, and it's no surprise, the vast majority saw quite a bit of fireworks. So we wanted to continue to chime in, vote in the poll at KOMNewsNow.com/vote, and you can also vote with the KOM News Now app for iOS and Android. Before we head to the break, let's check in with Vlad at New York to see what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
I'm Vladimir Tutip. Coming up and only on CBS Mornings, retired U.S. soccer star Bruce Murray tells our Dr. John LaPook how he's searching for answers about a brain disease in some former soccer players. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, paratrooper Pete Nisich. The Carthage, Missouri native served from 1942 to 1944 in Italy and France as a part of the 82nd Airborne Division. To Army paratrooper Peter Nisich, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
Birthdays this morning. Someone turning 7 strong out of Columbus this year. Happy birthday to Reagan Hutto. Pretty nice dance there. Happy birthday, Miss Reagan.
Reagan, that is a beautiful dress, and again, happy birthday. We now go on to Ella LaTurner. Ella is turning 8 years old, and she is a Galena, Kansas native.
All right, we continue on to Columbus, Kansas. Faith Johnson, turning 10 years old. Happy birthday, Faith.
On to Deontay Short. Deontay is turning 21, and he is a Pittsburgh native.
And we're going out to southwestern Lawrence County, out of Pierce City, for our final birthday this morning. Lainey Hayes, turning 39. Happy birthday to you, Lainey. And that is it for our birthdays this morning. If you've got a birthday anniversary you want us to give you a shout out, submit it our way. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com or to birthdays at KOAMNewsNow.com. Plus, that's not the only way you can have fun with birthdays online. You can also sign up for our KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com, and sign up. Not only can you get a good shout out from us, but you can get special deals from local businesses. So again, KOAMNewsNow.com. That's where you can sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. Now, when we wrap things up and head over to Fox 14 in just a bit, we'll head out to the ball game as the Rockford Peaches take the field for a spin-off to the hit movie A League of Their Own. It's based on the real-life league and the team. The spin-off is a series headed to the small screen, and the cast held its premiere right of Rockford, Illinois. Delighting fans and residents. That'll be coming up at 7 o'clock on 14. In the meantime, though, let's get to our forecast, because this is our main weather driver for today. The big upper-level high centered over Louisiana and Mississippi. With that said, though, there is one tiny little upper-level wave that managed to break away and sneak in underneath this upper-level ridge. All it's really doing, for the most part, is producing some scattered rain and a couple of storms this morning west of 35 from Wichita and even to the northwest of Ponca City, right along the Kansas-Oklahoma border. But you can see at times there have been maybe a rogue shower or two trying to clip parts of Woodson and Anderson counties and far southeastern Kansas and our far northwestern counties. That may try to hold on for a few more hours, but once we get past 8 or 9 a.m., it's all about the heat and humidity, resulting in heat advisories from northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas. But really, these excessive heat warnings for all of southeast Kansas, southwestern Missouri, they won't budge until we hit midnight going into Friday. So that's still quite a prolonged stretch to put up with. And even though it looks nice from 7th and Rangeline, we are going to see that resulting in rising numbers throughout the day. Right now, though, we're at 77. Feels like 79 out there, though, with those dew points near 70. Everyone's in the middle of the upper 70s right now. Maybe a couple of spots flirting with feeling like 80 degrees already. And again, I don't think we're done heating up just yet. On a normal day, though, we should start at 69 and top out near 90. We'll be near 81 at 8 a.m., 95 by noon, and pushing highs near 100 in Joplin. But that's the same case for the entire area. Once we get past that quick little upper level wave of maybe a random shower or storm or two, closer to the turnpike. It's all about the mostly sunny skies and that pushing temperatures near 100 degrees this afternoon. And again, we haven't talked about what the humidity will do to those numbers. By the time we hit the peak heating of the afternoon, it could range between 104 and 108 degrees. And we'll see how long we'll be flirting with numbers like this when we get our last full look at the 7-day forecast when we wrap things up on the other side.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. We now know the identity of the man who drowned at the Dripping Springs area of Grand Lake this weekend. Officials with Emporia State University in Kansas say the man, Brexton Green, was a student there. The university says Green, originally from Cache in Oklahoma, was a sophomore and wide receiver on the football team. Authorities say Green was cliff jumping into the water, but did not resurface. A Wyandotte, Oklahoma man dies after a crash yesterday morning while on his motorcycle in Newton County. Missouri authorities say 61-year-old Bruce Dodge was driving north on Missouri State Highway 43 of Seneca when he crashed into the back of a pickup. Dodge was pronounced dead at the scene, and the other driver was not hurt. A Southwest Missouri legislator resigns her seat after being convicted of fraudulently taking COVID-19 relief funds. On Friday, Republican State Representative Tricia Durgis of Nixa sent her resignation letter to House Speaker Bob Vescovo. Durgis was an assistant physician at several clinics. She was convicted last month on 22 counts, including wire fraud, illegal distribution of controlled substances, and making false statements to investigators. Federal prosecutors argued that she claimed nearly $900,000 in federal funding for COVID-19 treatments that weren't performed or had already been performed. The state of Oklahoma plans to execute an inmate on death row nearly every month until 2025. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals set execution dates for 6 prisoners with plans to execute 25 in the next 29 months. The court is responding to a request by Oklahoma Attorney General John O'Connor. Capital punishment in Oklahoma had been on hold due to a moratorium prompted by botched lethal injections. Oklahoma currently has a backlog of 44 people on death row. Under the new push, the first scheduled execution is set for August 25th. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
As I promised everybody, one last look at the 7-day forecast. Maybe a stray shower or storm for areas closest to the Kansas Turnpike this morning. Otherwise, we are hot and humid again with highs pushing near 100. It could feel like 103 to 108 during the course of the afternoon, and we'll continue with the lower triple digits. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and the high humidity could push some of those feels like temperatures by Friday, certainly generally up to as high as 110. Hopefully, we get a little bit of a break in the heat with the front by Saturday and Sunday.
All right, yeah, I'm not feeling that 110 feel like temp.
And hopefully by the middle of next week we can at least get more solid breaks from the heat, but we'll focus on that a little later on today at noon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Nick.
In the meantime, though, what can we have coming up at noon?
Well, coming up at noon today, we're making a feel-good smoothie bowl in the Mr. Fruit Test Kitchen.
That's probably one good way to keep cool for sure. But the morning news will continue in a few minutes right here with CBS Mornings. And Consumer Reports actually found dangerous and potentially deadly bacteria in some ground meat supplies. The folks over in New York will have some tips for safely cooking and eating meat this summer.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
All right, and this morning we have Steve Anthony and Under Sheriff Ben Nicole from the Special Olympics stopping by to talk about an upcoming golf event with some very special guests. That'll be a nice interview to kick off another hour of news coming up. Plus, we'll actually show you how a city is using goats to landscape one of its popular parks. Certainly a good use of the goats if you don't want to mow in this type of heat.
Yeah, stick with us. That'll wrap things up for now. We'll see you right back here tomorrow morning.
And we'll see you today at noon.